How does a thought actually begin? Imagine you are going about your daily life when suddenly everything feels completely unfamiliar. You start to question what you see, asking why, how, and what would happen if things were different. The ancient Greeks, including Plato and Aristotle, thought philosophy emerged from wonder, a kind of enchanted gaze at the universe. Fast forward a few thousand years to a French philosopher named Gilles Deleuze and his partner, the psychoanalyst Félix Guattari. They examined the world and turned that traditional view on its head. For them, philosophy doesn't start with wonder or abstract thinking. It begins with a problem. In their influential work, What is Philosophy? Deleuze and Guattari made a significant claim in the academic community. They argued that a philosopher isn't someone who uncovers timeless truths. Truth doesn't just lie around waiting to be found. Instead, they suggested that philosophy is like a factory that mainly produces new concepts. Philosophy is the art of creating concepts. This may seem straightforward, but it indicates a huge shift in thinking. Consider this. An artist makes beautiful forms, and a scientist develops mathematical or experimental models. A philosopher, they create entirely new mental tools to help us understand a complex and changing reality. But why do we always need new concepts? Because the world keeps evolving. An ancient Greek hammer can't repair a modern quantum computer. Today's reality is a chaotic mix of globalization, artificial intelligence, changing power dynamics, and fading traditional roles. Old intellectual frameworks are breaking down. We can't rely on outdated thoughts to navigate today's disorder. If the environment shifts, the tools must adapt, making philosophy an ongoing and creative act of survival. For centuries, Western philosophy focused on finding the core of everything, searching for a single unchanging essence or truth hidden beneath the surface. Traditional thought loves the image of a tree, with a strong trunk, deep roots, and evenly spaced and predictable branches. Deleuze and Guattari had no interest in stillness, unity, or tidy trees. They valued movement, diversity, and difference. To them, the world isn't a solid, permanent structure. It's a fluid network of forces. To illustrate this, they introduced one of their well-known ideas, the rhizome. In botany, a rhizome is a root system that spreads horizontally under the ground, like ginger or certain weeds. There is no single trunk. There is no hierarchy. There are only connections. If you cut a rhizome in one place, it simply grows again somewhere else. They looked at human knowledge, society, and culture, and realized that we don't function like a tidy, organized tree. We act like a messy web. Any point in a rhizome can connect to any other point. A modern example of this is the internet, which is a massive, centerless network full of links, shortcuts, and endless intersections, without a single controlling element. This horizontal view transforms how we see ourselves, especially regarding desire. Sigmund Freud and classical psychoanalysts taught that desire arises from a lack, a void within us, a craving for what we don't possess. Deleuze and Guattari rejected this view. Desire isn't an empty space, it serves as an engine. It is a productive, creative, and powerful force. Desire fuels relationships, builds institutions, inspires art, and shapes new ways of living. However, there's a catch. Since desire literally shapes our reality, power structures want to control it. The important question shifts from what do you want to a deeper and slightly unsettling one. How does the system influence your desires? Who taught you to want what you want? Power isn't confined to government buildings or legal codes. It seeps into your daily routines, habits, assumptions, and preferences. This means that resistance isn't only about large political uprisings. It is a quiet, everyday act of defiance. It involves rejecting predefined identities and rigid ways of living. Traditional thinkers often focused on identity, asking, What makes this thing the same as that thing? Deleuze posed a more dynamic question. How does difference arise, and how do truly new things come into being? Life is not a photocopier, endlessly producing identical pages. It is a continuous creation of the new. If we learn one key lesson from Deleuze and Guattari, it's that philosophy isn't a collection of outdated information or an exclusive group for scholars. It is an adventure. It serves as a toolkit for a constantly changing world. It encourages us to view the universe not as a resolved puzzle, but as an open landscape of exciting and frightening possibilities. The old concepts are crumbling, and the world is only becoming more unpredictable. The real question now is, what new concepts will we create next?